Hello and welcome back to the All Out Soccer Podcast. Myself, Jeremy Goldstein, my co-host, Joseph McBride. We're two football fans talking about soccer. We focus on a fusion of the MLS, the U.S. men's and women's soccer teams, and the build-up to the 2026 World Cup. Joe, you were gone last week, but you're back now in time for the U.S. men's national team upcoming friendlies. How you feeling?
Feeling a bit tired at the moment. Got back in from Dublin last night, who are very much hoping to get into the World Cup. I hope they do too. I saw parrots everywhere for Troy Parrott. Bit of a wild situation, but yeah, appreciate you filling in last week. And I'm back and I'm excited to get back into things.
Excited to have you back, man. Did you know that Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, shouted out Troy Parrott on St. Patrick's Day?
I did see that. That was a bit of a wild one. I popped up on the timeline and I thought it was AI or some sort of joke. But no, Troy Parrott got a shout out. Look at him go.
I will say, Zoran, he is a ball knower. Unfortunately, he is an Arsenal fan. But he was really in the Arsenal trenches on Twitter about 10 years ago. So I do respect him for that. Before we forget, please make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple, YouTube, or the whole lot. We have a jam-packed episode where we're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team upcoming friendlies against Belgium and Portugal. Ronaldo will not be involved in that Portugal friendly. He's not played in the U.S. in a very, very long time. After that, we're going to talk about what constitutes a successful window for the U.S. men's national team. Again, they're two friendlies, so it's really hard to evaluate, but we're going to do our best. After that, we're going to look at the 4 remaining teams in the CONCACAF Champions Cup from the MLS. Miami is not one of them, Joe. Oh my God. Then after that, some quick little MLS news and updates. I mean, Antoine Griezmann now plays in the MLS. That's pretty crazy. And the MLS is doing a crazy little breakneck schedule for half of 2027. And what I thought at first was going to take away revenue, but no. It is adding more games ultimately in the long run. We'll get into that after the break. But first up, we're going to get into some U.S. men's national team news. Joe, just very, very quickly, how do you feel about the international break?
I'm excited about it this time. Usually it's unpopular because, the leagues are just getting going, getting some momentum. But I'm really excited specifically for the World Cup playoffs. But also I'm really excited to watch the US. We'll get into this later. But regardless of win, lose or draw, I just think playing teams of this magnitude is such a good test and indicator before the World Cup. If they're going to be successful, they're going to meet one of these teams or one of the teams of this level down the road. And I really do think the US should go all out for it and, just try and make a statement. And it doesn't matter if just don't sit back and be passive. Go for these teams. This is the chance to try things.
Entirely different caliber of opponent in this window. Before we get started, we just want to hit on some tiny little bits and bobs that, don't really want to cover as we're getting into the matchup themselves. Cristiano Ronaldo. He will not be playing for Portugal this window. The 41-year-old suffered a substantial tear in his right hamstring in late February while playing in Saudi Arabia. Posted on social media the other day, this is a normal vanity post of himself saying he's, quote, getting better every day. When do you think the last time Ronaldo played any game in the United States was?
I'm thinking it would have been that International Champions Cup they did pre-season, so like 2013, 2014?
2014.
Yeah.
Now, he hadn't been in the U.S. since 2016 until he visited Donald Trump at the White House last fall with the Saudi coalition. He won't be playing. I mean, it's just from a pageantry point of view, I would have wanted him on the field. Obviously, there's still some legal issues with Ronaldo in the United States that maybe Trump absolved for him last year. We're not going to get into that or even mention anything about it. That's the Ronaldo update. He won't be playing.
Massive miss, really been a really nice, event opportunity. And I'm sure a lot of people bought tickets to that hoping they'd see him play. Obviously, like I always say, sport is sport. It's not entertainment. These things do happen. But it's not as if Portugal don't have a lot of world-class players that are still going to be featuring.
Yes, they will. What do we have from Mauricio Pochettino this week, who I must say is becoming not a great soundbite?
Yeah, bold statement from him. Obviously, the US are going to be looking to do as well as possible hosting this World Cup. We've heard things about at least getting to the quarterfinals or pushing the boundaries. Pochettino has not said that this is his goal. but he was speaking in riddles. He was speaking poetically here. He was basically saying football logic rarely holds. There's no mathematical equations to predict a result. That's why it's the most beautiful sport in the world. He's basically saying that it's in a logical sport. Anything can happen. As we can see in recent World Cups, there are some teams that go beyond their means. And he said specifically about South Korea, who hosted in 2002, and Morocco, who reached the semi-finals, in the most recent Qatar World Cup. He's saying he wants the US to emulate that sort of success, meaning he wants them to reach the Final Four at least. Bold statement and bold prediction. Whether he actually is setting that as his goal, who knows? But I mean, it's exciting stuff, but given he's probably going to leave after the World Cup, I think he's just pushing for the heights as much as he can.
Yeah, he is. He's also doing this thing where he's painting the U.S. as an extreme underdog, which is, again, all about his perception of a manager. If he can lead this extreme underdog nation to the semifinals, it just elevates him that much more, just like it did for Guus Hiddink in the 2002 World Cup with South Korea. It's a good angle. That's what I would do if I were him. I'd be making against all odds, I am taking on the world. I'm like, dog, you got a comfortably top 15 team comfortably top 20 team in the world, borderline top 15. If they make the semifinals, I think it would be a shock. I mean, they would be upsetting at least one major powerhouse along the way. We've talked about the quarterfinals as a realistic goal, but this is just Poch, again, just giving himself more leeway and more credit in advance. It's a preparatory quote.
Yeah, I mean, if they do it, he can, look like a visionary and a genius for getting them there.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, the most sold World Cup in terms of tickets and attendance ever was the 94 World Cup, and this is going to do that by at least double. If they can get a good run and if the fans can really get behind them, and all it takes is a bit more energy and a bit of a lucky break or a random occurrence in a game against one of the big teams, and you never know. I think it's a long shot, but why not aim big?
Why not aim big? Last bit of business, Landon Donovan on his podcast. I should know the name of it because they emailed me, and I apologize. It's with Tim Howard. He was talking about Noah Kai Banks, obviously not part of the U.S. men's national team picture this window, as he's still debating his international future, whether he wants to play for Germany, whether he wants to play for the U.S. This is a U.S. youth international, Hawaiian-born, but grew up in Germany. He's had a really good season, and all of a sudden he could be in the German national team picture. If the U.S. had got him on board a little sooner, this wouldn't be an issue. Donovan said, if someone does not want to play for your country, good riddance, goodbye, and I'm not mad at him. He can make his decision, but now I don't care about you anymore. I don't care about Noah Kai. If he does not want to play for the U.S., totally fine. I get it. If he feels more German, I've always said, make the decision when you're passionate. Clearly, if he wanted to be a part of the U.S. team, he's been in many camps, the federation has been on him a long time. This whole notion of us begging to play for our country is bullshit. S-H-I-T. All right, Landon. I mean, look, it's a big opportunity to play for the German national team, especially someone who grew up in Germany. And that probably didn't seem like an option for Banks that long ago. It comes at a bad time. I mean, he's debating if he wants to play at a World Cup or maybe play at a future World Cup with Germany. I just don't think it's fair to pile on a teenager right now. I think the real problem is the USA should have shown him a further commitment at a younger age and got him in the door playing in a competitive game. Sorry, that's how you secure someone's commitment. And that's my reaction.
Yeah, I think it's just bad timing. I think if this came during, an off-season period or, not when a major tournament was about to come, it wouldn't be as dramatic. I get both sides. I get one side of being like, well, if you don't want to commit to play for us, we don't want to be second best. We don't want you to settle for us. But at the same time, he's a young lad. His career has really blown up in the last, couple seasons. And it is a massive commitment. I mean, we saw it with Kevin Prince Boateng. He wanted to play for Germany and he pushed off Ghana for years and years and years until it got to the 2010 World Cup. And he thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And he was fabulous for them. I just want Noah Kai Banks to make the right decision. I want him to be happy with it. But yeah, it's just unfortunate timing.
Yeah, it does not mean he hates the USA. It means he is figuring out the best choice for his career. And he's a teenager. So we're going to give him some grace. Anyway, we're going to look at right now the Belgium and Portuguese sides that the U.S. are going to face in Atlanta this week. I'm going to start us off with the Belgian team, who the U.S. play on, is that Friday or Saturday, Joe?
Saturday.
That game is on Saturday, as I said from the start. Who plays for this Belgian team in the year of our Lord 2026? It's a different team than that, golden generation, the one who made the semifinals of the 2018 World Cup, beat Brazil with all these prime-aged Premier League stars. I mean, they were 7-0 winners, Belgium were, their last time out against Liechtenstein. They drew 1-1 against Kazakhstan the game before. They're in a fairly easy group against Egypt, New Zealand, and maybe Iran at the World Cup. That is meant to be seen. Iran are a decent nation. That could be an even worse team if some things change about Iran's participation status. Courtois is not playing for this Belgium team right now. It's going to be someone like Matt Sells in goal. In defense, it's a lot of some elder players, Thomas Meunier, Timothy Castagna, and some younger center backs. De Bruyne is still around. He just came back for Napoli. Axel Witsel, who's 37 and playing for Girona, he's still around. Amadou Onana from Aston Villa. He had a good Euros with them last time out. And the captain of the team is also in midfield, Yuri Tielemans. Up front, Lukaku's out. So who does that leave? It looks like the starting lineup is going to be some combination of Jeremy Doku, Charles de Ketelaere, Dode Lukebakio. They have some very, very young players on the bench. They have a guy named Lucas Stassen at Saint-Etienne, who are in Ligue 2. There's a player in the second division in France, in the Belgium national team. This is just such a departure from what they were in their heyday. And I'm sorry, the U.S. nearly line up talent for talent with Belgium. I mean, the only difference I would say is the 36, however old Kevin De Bruyne is at this point. But these forward players, I mean, Jeremy Doku would, let's be real, he would walk straight into this U.S. men's national team. But everyone else, it's not, the quality of talent is not that large. I mean, look, Tyler Adams is missing for the U.S., and I flagged that last week as just a massive absence. But I see no reason why the U.S. can't go toe-to-toe with this side, the Belgian team, who absolutely crashed out of the 2022 World Cup, and they don't even have Lukaku.
Yeah, I agree. They're not the team that they once were. Like you said, there was that golden generation where everyone thought they could shock everyone and win a competition, and they never seemed to get it over the line. I think Onana is a really, really talented player. I think Tielemans is a really talented player. Helped that they also played together at club level also. But yeah, no Lukaku is big. Doku, obviously very skillful and handy winger. He might play more centrally. He's definitely going to test the US fullbacks, that's for sure. But yeah, I think of the two games, this is the more winnable one. But yeah, Belgium aren't the team they once were, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be a tremendous achievement if the US won. Belgium is still ranked number 9 in the world.
Yeah, I'm curious to see about some of those one-on-one matchups with those star players on the wing, and let's see how the U.S. can handle that, because if you can handle Doku, you can pretty much handle any winger in the world. So that's one to watch. Portugal, though, this is a bit more of a step up.
Yeah, Portugal is by far one of the best teams in the world, even without Ronaldo. I mean, sometimes they look better without him, especially later on. I mean, he's never scored in the knockout stage of the World Cup, despite how good he is, which is an incredible stat. But still, they have so many capable players. In goal, Jose Sarr for Wolves, obviously, has had a terrible campaign. They also have Diego Costa from Porto. The defence is a little bit shaky. They do have Nuno Mendes, who is one of the best fullbacks in the world by some margin. Diego Dallo, hit and miss for Manchester United. Mateus Nunes has really fit into Manchester City this season. Gonzalo Ignacio also strong at the back. It's the midfield where they really do shine, though. Vitinha, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best midfielder in the world. An absolute joy to watch at PSG. Bruno Fernandes absolutely tearing up for Manchester United as well. Obviously, Ruben Neves, aging like a fine wine, even though he's still only about 28. It feels like he's been around forever. João Neves as well, also at PSG. Further forward, without Ronaldo, Gonzalo Ramos will probably be leading the line. But of course, on the wings, you've got the likes of Rafa Leao. You've also got Pedro Neto, João Felix. Just such a stacked team with a lot of talent. I think Portugal are going to be a strong contender at the World Cup. And I think the loss of Ronaldo sometimes makes things more difficult. When he's in that team, he demands the ball. He's the focal point. And you always know if you mark him, that the chances are going to be limited. It's not as easy without him. As much as, yeah, it's a loss that he's not playing. This is going to be a test. And I think that the US shouldn't play with anything to really fear or lose against a team like this. This is the sort of standard they're going to have to beat if they want to reach the Final Four. So when they do play, I really do think they should go all out. And just as a reminder, Portugal absolutely dominated their World Cup qualifying group. The only loss they had was against Ireland when Ronaldo was sent off, and that was quite an interesting one. Other than that, since Euro 2024, when they lost, I believe, on penalties to France, the only other loss they've had was a 1-0 defeat to Denmark, a bit of a shock result, but they're just such a quality side, really, really difficult to beat. And they'll definitely be going for victory at the World Cup, that's for sure.
So what differentiates this Portugal side from the Belgian side is I think Portugal are going to have a lot more possession than Belgium. And it's going to be interesting to see the U.S. play a team where the U.S. might have 25 or 30% of the ball, because there might be a matchup at the World Cup where you're playing a possession-heavy team, whether it be a Brazil, an Argentina, a Spain, a France in the knockouts. And it's just, you cannot replicate that environment without seeing it. And that's just going to be such a useful exercise for some of these players. And let's get into it just very quickly right now. Adams is missing. This sucks. You're playing two very good teams. Do you fully rotate? Do you do an A team, B team situation? Do you do two A teams? Do you do mostly an A team with a smattering of your second choice players and then put anyone who doesn't start from the A team in the second game? How would you portion your lineups? Or do you just try to get a best 11 out there at one point, even though Adams won't be there? What would you do if you're Pochettino?
I definitely wouldn't do an A and a B and just fully change it, because I don't think that helps anyone. I think with just a few months to go, this is really the opportunity to see what you're about. Obviously, you've got players missing, which sucks, especially against Portugal, a team that has such a solid midfield. That's going to be an interesting one. But maybe in those positions where you're not 100% on who's going to start, who's the best one, that's where you rotate. And maybe a few positions, but I definitely wouldn't do a completely separate 11 or do one of those things that some teams do, where they make, all those changes at half time and sub the goalie out, etc. The goalie one, maybe I would change. Maybe start, the two best that you have, whether it's, Matt Freese, Matt Turner or whatever in either game. I don't see a problem with that too much, but definitely not a full one. But I agree with what you say about the test. Belgium, I think the US can try and keep more of the ball and see how they can create. Against Portugal, they're going to sit back, but that's the point where you play the players that are going to be fast on the break. How can they utilize their counter attack?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, I just was desperate to see who he lines up next to Tyler Adams and him being out. It's just like, how do you even build this midfield? Because Adams will be there. So you're just going to have to, you're not doing an audition next to Adams. You're going to have to do two auditions simultaneously, and that's going to throw the whole thing out of whack. I'm interested to see how the forward line looks more than anything. It's going to be Balogun in the first game, without a shadow of a doubt. But there's going to be a competition for that second striker role. Pepe's returned from injury. Wright's having a very good season in the championship. And I'm curious to see which one of them. They're both going to get chances, either off the bench or starting, to see which one of them seizes it. Also, Patrick Agyemang is around. And I don't know if you've been paying attention. English fans seem to think this guy is the second coming. I'm very interested to see if he gets any action.
Yeah, he's been really popular at Derby, and he's just a differential. He's such a big build. He's not your average kind of centre forward anymore. I know he's been playing out wide as well, but yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and also a reminder: Haji Wright not in the pool. He's out with injury. So that opens the door for Pepe and Agyemang even more to seize that spot. But hey, someone's going to be hurt, statistically speaking, at every tournament. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hey, if you want to get involved in the conversation, shoot me an email at jeremy.goldstein@reachplc.com. That's jeremy.goldstein. Please engage by subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a like while you're at it. That's the end of part 1 of this week's Loud Soccer. Stick around for part 2 just after the break. All right, Joe, we're switching gears into MLS, club football, everything going on in the United States of America. The most famous team in the United States of America, the reigning MLS Cup champion, Inter Miami team, wanted to take it a step further this year by winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That did not happen. They lost 1-1. Yes, you heard that. 1-1 on away goals to Nashville in the round of 16 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. We're going to get into each of the four sides in the CONCACAF Champions Cup still remaining, the four U.S. teams left in the quarterfinals. But we just have to talk about Miami first, who lost obviously to Nashville. Quick reactions to this one.
Potential justice for a hard game 3 in the MLS Cup playoffs. I still think that Nashville were really unlucky not to get an equalising goal during that game. But I love away goals. I think they should still be there in European competition. I think they're massive and it is more of an incentive for away sides to attack more. But Miami weren't good enough. Nashville looked really, really good to start this season. And whether it's complacency or whatever, for a team and for an owner that came out saying this was the primary goal, that did not equate to the performance they put out over 2 legs.
It did equate to them trying, I will say. They played their absolute A-team and rested everyone the weekend before. I think we need to give Nashville a little bit of credit. This is not a good team. They're not a bad team, excuse me. Now, their goal came from a little bit of a cluster FUCK in the box with Christian Espinoza leveling in the 74th minute. The game started with Bertarame, the new signing, just missing an absolute sitter in the 4th minute. Again, Messi rescued them. He scored in the 90th. He scored his 900th goal in the 9th minute. How did Miami line up for this one? It was Bertarame, Allende, Messi, Segovia, all on the field. That's 4 attacking players, plus DePaul, who is 30 in his early 30s now, is not as mobile, and Yannick Bright sitting in the field. Over the weekend, Bertarame was dropped. That means you have Bertarame and Suarez on the bench. That's 2 strikers. That's them admitting we can't play like this, potentially against good teams. So New York City were a good team. Miami beat New York 3-2 over the weekend. Silvetti came into the starting lineup, which just adds so much more legs. And there's this narrative now about Miami that Mascherano and Miami only won the title last year by accident because Suarez got suspended. He wouldn't have pulled him from the starting lineup because he couldn't, but because of the suspension, he had to play Messi through the middle with those 2 wingers in front of him. And it seems like Mascherano was so wedded to playing a traditional striker with Messi, and that just might not work. The problem is they paid the price. What are we? Just over 4 or 5 weeks into the season, and their main goal is done. They're done because he didn't get it right quick enough. I mean, I still think this Miami team will recover and be one of the favorites to win the MLS Cup, but this is an unforgiving schedule, and you got to get it right immediately.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal start to the season, I think, with how the CONCACAF
draw too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, like you said, we all props to Nashville. I think the signing of Espinoza looks incredible. We were excited about it before the season, but he's had a really, really good start. Bertarame for Miami, not so much. I'm sure he'll get going. But yeah, it was just a shame for them, but they didn't deserve it, and Nashville did. It's a bit of a warning now, I think, to the rest of MLS, because now that goal's out of the way, retaining the title really is the one thing they're going to be doing all they can to achieve. But yeah, as much as they rested players and they tried to put out the best 11 they could, just didn't look good enough. But Nashville at the same time deserve a lot of credit for, stopping that attacking threat.
Yeah, and again, away goals in the big year 2026, I don't know. But yeah, give Nashville credit. Miami only scored 1 goal over 2 legs. Nashville then were 5-0 winners over Orlando on the weekend. Sam Surge had a hat trick. Christian Espinoza had a weird thing that maybe it was a shot, maybe it was a cross, whatever. Fully deserved 5-0 victory. They'll get Club America, obviously a very big Liga MX side, in the quarterfinals. They beat the Philadelphia Union 2-1 in the round of 16. So that's one of our teams done. Nashville. Joe, hit us with another team in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the best games of the whole competition. I can't wait for it. LAFC, they squeezed past Costa Rican side Liga Deportiva Alajuelense. That is terrible pronunciation. Any Costa Rican people in the comments, please let me off. It was a last-minute goal from David Martinez, who started the season really, really strongly, that put them through, winning 3-2 in aggregate. They will now face Toluca, who steamrolled San Diego FC. That was a bit of a shock comeback. Losing the first leg and then coming back with a 4-0 win came out of nowhere. Sorry, I've got that completely wrong. They're playing Cruz Azul in the next round. There's Toluca that played the other LA team. I'm getting my LA teams confused. Anyway, I think it's going to be the best matchup because realistically, LAFC haven't even conceded a goal in MLS yet, and they're looking good in this competition. Cruz Azul, the reigning champions of this competition, and one of the best still in Liga MX. And I think this is going to be an incredible game to watch. I'm not sure who's going to win that one, but yeah, LAFC are absolutely smashing it this year. As I said, 5 games without conceding at all. They did draw 0-0 at the weekend against Austin FC. Lloris actually saved them right at the end of that one. Austin had a really, really good chance in the 94th minute and he tipped it over the bar. Incredible acrobatic save from him. They're looking really, really solid. I wouldn't be surprised if they get past Cruz Azul. They can go on to do better things in this competition. But as we said just before we started recording, MLS teams do not have the best track record in this competition.
And they do not have the best track record going away to Mexico. It's like insane. I just do not understand. FC Cincinnati, my God, you lost 5-1 to Tigres. Roman Celentano, bless his soul, mysteriously scratched from the U.S. men's national team after that performance. Yeah, scratched. Yeah, not a great one, buddy. I mean, I don't want to ever allege anyone having a fake injury. And God bless FC Cincinnati, great sporting organization. But oh dear God, that was pretty bad. You can lose in Mexico. You just can't lose 5-1. It's just like a big difference between surviving and getting destroyed. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox. I'm going to talk about 2 MLS teams who faced off against each other, Seattle and Vancouver. And you know what? I have to say, Seattle, the only MLS club in recent memory to win a CONCACAF Champions Cup when they did it in 2022. However, they knocked off who I think is the best MLS team right now, Vancouver, 5-1 on aggregate. What the freaking hell happened here? It was a 3-0 road win in the first leg. Paul Arriola, who had not started a game in a year, literally a year, 2 goals. Because why not? Seattle had 3 shots in the second half. They scored 2 of them. My man, Paul Rothrock. Oh my God. They call him Paulie Primetime in Seattle, Joe. This guy cannot stop scoring some of the most SHIT house goals you'll ever see off of rebounds. He's full field runs. I hate to throw this around on a short white guy, but he really is a hardworking player. He really is a hardworking player. And quite frankly, he should be in the U.S. men's national team pool after the World Cup. Just give him a look. They were 2-1 winners then Seattle in the second leg. Vancouver had scored the first one to make it 3-1. But Danny Musovski, goal in the 80th. And who do you think scored in the 84th? It was Paulie Primetime. This is a really fun team, man. I mean, they have so many attackers. Jordan Morris is hurt. De La Vega is hurt. But it's just like they play a different forward lineup every week. And they still advance. They're really injury ravaged right now. They got Alex Roldan playing center back. This is a short man, but he's holding his own. What a fun team Seattle is. And they got Tigres next. Again, you can lose in Mexico. You just can't get destroyed. And I rest my case. Also, they were 0-0 against Minnesota over the weekend. Best player on the pitch, James Rodriguez. But we'll come back to James Rodriguez another time, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, you were pretty hot on Seattle at the start of the year, so fair enough. They're looking good. But like you said, regardless of if they win every game, they are really, really fun to watch. I've enjoyed watching them so far this season. And obviously, Vancouver getting to the final last year and them knocking them off already. Big plays. They're obviously the only team that have won it. You never know. Someone's got to do it eventually. Why can't it be Seattle twice? I'm going to get into the other LA team, and I'm not sure if you know this, Jeremy, but LA Galaxy will now face Toluca. Might have said that a couple minutes ago and I got that wrong, but they'll be facing Toluca. LA Galaxy have had an unfortunate start to the year. We spoke to Joseph Pantel before the season started. A red card ruined their chances of beating New York City. They drew 1-1 in the MLS opener. They then won the following game 3-0 against Charlotte, looking good. Since then, they've slipped back into their old season form. I think 2 losses and 2 draws, just 1 win to start the season so far. But they had a very favourable draw. They played Mount Pleasant, which I believe is a Panamanian side. They beat them 3-0 in both legs, comfortable, weren't really tested at all. And they've drawn Toluca, who aren't the best Mexican team. They're still solid. But they've won 5 and drawn 7 in Liga MX. So as much as they haven't, lost yet, which is impressive, they're not exactly going out and winning games. So I think it should be a pretty good matchup. This, as much as LA Galaxy aren't playing well, there's a real opportunity for them to reach the next stage here. Cruz Azul is definitely the biggest Liga MX team in this competition, in my opinion, just based on recency bias. Tigres aren't having the best season, but they're looking all right, and they're usually good in these sorts of competitions. So yeah, a decent draw for LA Galaxy, but they need to start putting some wins together in MLS, I think, to take that momentum into this tie.
Yeah, and you're right. Toluca is not the best Liga MX side, but they still, at home, beat San Diego 4-0. After San Diego, down a man, won 3-2 in the first leg. You can go to Mexico and lose. You just can't go to Mexico and lose 4-0. And I get it. I mean, Toluca's not that bad. Paulinho, the striker, is an ex-Portugal international. He's very good. It's like 50 goals for them in like 2 or 3 years. You just can't get blitzed. And just to recap, now that we're 30 minutes into the podcast, we got 4 matchups coming up. We got Toluca versus the LA Galaxy, Cruz Azul versus LAFC. Those winners would face off, giving us a potential LA Galaxy, LAFC, home and home in the semifinals would be fun. Nashville against Club America. That'll be a good one. And then Tigres versus Seattle. Those teams are very far from each other. But again, that's best on best. It's a shame that I would say that Vancouver and Miami aren't still in it, not because I hate the teams that beat them, just because I think those are 2 very good representatives of the MLS, and it would be interesting to broadcast them on the global stage, but I rest my case. That's just what we're working with now. Now, Joe, we're already over the time I wanted us to go to today, but that's okay. We're going to talk about Antoine Griezmann coming to Orlando. What the is going on?
Yeah, he's been linked to the MLS for so long. He was linked to LAFC when Giroud and obviously Lloris still being there were there. He loves America. He seems to love coming here. And now finally he will come at the end of his contract with Atletico Madrid. He will be joining Orlando this summer on a 2-year deal, although there is an option for a 3rd year. So exciting. Obviously, this guy's a World Cup winner with France. He's scored almost 300 goals in his career alongside stints for Real Sociedad, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. One of the best kind of, maybe not in that top tier conversation in terms of the greats of this generation, but he's certainly up there, very well known. And MLS, providing that Messi stays around for a bit longer, we've got a decent derby now with Orlando and Miami.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And look, does Griezmann know the team, where in the standings the team he's coming to right now? I don't know. This deal has been in the works for months. I mean, he was coming regardless. I mean, if he had came a few months ago, probably would have helped. We've talked about this Orlando attack losing a bunch of their key players over the last year to Saudi Arabia, to South America. Players have gone in 100 different directions, and they need a forward. And they got a good one. But they do have one, Antoine Griezmann, who has never won La Liga, despite playing for Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, who have won La Liga like 7 times during his stints at the 2 clubs, just never when he's played for the right team. He's still very good. I mean, he's still starting for Atleti in like important games. I think he started against Real Madrid last weekend. It's a fun one.
He's still an exceptional player, and he's not ever one that's really relied on speed either, which I think maybe gives him a benefit as he goes later on into his career. He's got an amazing left foot. He can score with both too. Usually delivers, great penalty taker. I could go on. I'm very excited for him to come to MLS.
I can't wait for Griezmann in the playoffs to be at an Orlando Magic game with Puff the Magic Dragon, who's the green Orlando Magic mascot. And he's going to be wearing not like a Paolo Banchero, who's the most famous player in the Magic, or even like a Desmond Bain jersey. He's going to be wearing, obviously, like a 1995 Penny Hardaway shirt. He's going to be eating that up. He loves America so much. It's a little freaky, but I mean, good for him. We're not going to talk about his famous Harlem Globetrotters costume. We'll leave that one for another day. As long as he doesn't wear that to the game, we're in good shape. And do not put that graphic up, please. All right. We're going to close with a little bit of MLS schedule news. Like, this could be a full podcast, Joe. The MLS is going a little rogue next season just to get online with the international schedule, which is the plan for the 2027-28 campaign. So I thought, like, they'll just they'll just somehow skip a season. No. They're adding a season. The MLS is having a sprint to the playoffs next year. You get 14 interconference games. So that means each team plays 14 opponents in its conference. The top 8 make the playoffs, and then there's the MLS Cup in May. This season it's February to May of next year. So this season obviously goes super duper late because of the World Cup. It's going to go into mid-December. Players get 6 weeks off, not even. Enjoy that, anyone transferring to the league. Then you get 14 games, and then it's the playoffs, and then it's May, and then it's the summer 2020 season, and then we get the 27-28 year. So we're just adding a year, pretty much. The MLS isn't really losing any revenue. The only one who's losing is the players' vacation time. It's just, the MLS season in 2027 is supposed to kick off in July. And again, I'm still a little skeptical about this league playing through the winter, but they want to do it. Have fun recruiting players to play in, Canada in January. No, with all due respect, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you might need a few snowblowers and Zambonis on BMO Field, but they'll get there. I think they had to do something because you can't just take a 6-month break, especially with a league and an organization that's, grossing as much as it is and just in general. But yeah, it is a little wild. It's kind of, I think it kind of reminds me of, do you remember they had the MLS Cup is back or MLS is back tournament, like post-COVID? Yeah. It's kind of a little thing like that. I think it could be interesting with the NFL ending and then it kind of kicking off into playoff time. But yeah, it's a bit bizarre. They had to do something. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be totally honest, but I've also come to the conclusion now I'm just not surprised by anything anymore.
Yeah. I told you this when we were prepping yesterday. Any player interested in coming to the MLS after the World Cup, after spending time in the United States, seeing the facilities and the country and just being, if they're impressed or whatever, and they want to come here, and then being like, wait a minute, this season is midway through, and then I get a month off, and then I play a 14-game season, then I get like 3 days off, and then the next year starts. It's just like at the most critical time for long-term MLS recruitment, they're just totally throwing a wrench in any sort of conventional planning. So it's just going to take an extra sell to agents to be like, by the way, everything is chill, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, it does make me laugh. They I kind of get it, but they had to align with the wider calendar in terms of transfers and all of these things and international breaks. And if they want to be considered with the other leagues, I get that. But it's like they've gone European, but just before they go European, we're going to go so North American.
Yes. And you're doing it right after the World Cup, the biggest event in American soccer history. Do this 2 years ago, guys. Come on. All right. Anyway, I think we need to wrap things up before we start pissing ourselves. That just about wraps it up for this week's All Out Soccer podcast. He's been Joe McBride. I've been Jeremy Goldstein. We hope you can join us again on the next episode. Or, as Thomas Muller would say, Auf Wiedersehen. See ya.